Have you ever tried tuning an old radio? That irritating static that only stops when you find the exact frequency. Sarah discovered our souls work exactly like that. She was 34 years old, a Christian for 2 decades. She attended church every Sunday, prayed every day, but she had never heard God's voice. Not really, until the day she decided to do something that would change her life forever. Something that 99% of Christians never have the courage to try. 7 days, only water, and a silence that would reveal secrets she never imagined existed. What happened on the 4th day will shock you. Sarah was always a practical person. She worked as a nurse, a mother of 2, busy life, tight schedule. For her, God was real, but distant, like a radio station you know exists, but you can never tune in properly. Have you ever felt that? That feeling that God is there, but you can't really hear him. Sarah felt that every day, until one sentence changed everything. Fasting isn't about food, it's about frequency. She heard this from an 87-year-old woman, a woman who had something different in her eyes, something Sarah had never seen before. Frequency? Sarah asked. Daughter, our body is like a radio, full of interference. Fasting eliminates the noise, until you can hear the most important station. God's station? Sarah laughed. It seemed like something from a mystic, from someone who doesn't live in reality. But something in those words bothered her, in a good way. 3 weeks later, she decided to try 7 days, only water. She didn't tell anyone, not her husband, not her children. This would be between her and God. The first day was easier than she imagined. She woke up at 5 in the morning, drank 2 glasses of water, prayed, Lord, if you want to speak to me, I'm here. I'm listening. She worked normally, took care of her children, prepared the family dinner. But she didn't eat. Mom, you're not going to have dinner? Asked her 12-year-old son. I'm not hungry, dear. A lie. She was starving, but there was something stronger than hunger. A growing curiosity. Could it really work? The second day was different. Sarah woke up with a strange feeling, as if someone were adjusting the volume of the world. The noises seemed sharper, but also more distant. At work, she noticed things she had never noticed before. The sound of patients breathing, the rhythm of the heart monitors, the silence between her colleagues' words. Are you okay today, Sarah? Asked her supervisor. You seem different. Different how? Sarah didn't know how to explain. It was as if someone were cleaning the lenses of her senses. On the 3rd day, something really changed. Sarah woke up at 4 in the morning. Without an alarm clock, her body was starting to understand. This wasn't just about food. It was about something much bigger. She sat on the bed, in the dark, and for the first time in years, the silence didn't bother her. In fact, she started to like it. During work, she realized she was listening to people differently. Not just the words, but what was behind the words. The pain, the hope, the fear. Sarah, you have a special gift for taking care of people, said Mrs. Davis, an elderly patient. You can see our souls. See the soul? Sarah had never thought about that. But Mrs. Davis was right. It was as if an invisible layer had been removed. And now she could see beyond the obvious. That night, for the first time, she prayed differently. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't complain about anything. She just stayed there, in silence, waiting. And then something happened that she would never forget. It wasn't an audible voice. It wasn't words in her mind. It was more subtle than that. It was as if someone had perfectly tuned the frequency of her heart. And suddenly, she knew. She knew she wasn't alone. She knew she had never been alone. She knew someone was there, watching, caring, loving. For how many years? Sarah started to cry, not out of sadness, out of relief. It was like finding something you had lost a long time ago. Something precious that you thought you would never see again. But that was only the beginning. The 4th day would be when everything would really change. Sarah woke up different, completely different. Her body didn't crave food anymore. It was as if she had found another source of energy, a source that didn't come from her stomach. It came from somewhere much deeper. During work, something extraordinary happened. She was taking care of Mr. Thompson, a 68-year-old man who had been hospitalized for 3 weeks. He was depressed, almost speechless. Sarah approached his bed, and without knowing why, she put her hand on his shoulder. "Everything will be all right," she said. Mr. Thompson looked her in the eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled. "How did you know I needed to hear that? Right now?" he asked. Sarah didn't know, but somehow, she knew. It was as if someone was whispering in her ear. Not words, but insights. Wisdom. "Nurse Sarah," said Dr. Ramirez, chief physician. "What did you do to Mr. Thompson? He's asking to talk to the psychologist. He wants to do physiotherapy. It's like he woke up to life." Sarah said nothing. How could she explain? That she was hearing things she couldn't explain? That she was seeing beyond what her eyes showed? That she was connected to something bigger? At night, she sat in her backyard. The stars seemed brighter. The wind had a different sound. It was as if the entire universe was whispering secrets. And then she heard, not with her ears, with something much deeper. A voice, gentle, loving, familiar. "My daughter." Sarah stopped breathing. "Are you hearing me?" she whispered. Silence, but a silence full of presence. "I've always been here. You were the one who couldn't hear me." Tears ran down Sarah's face. "Why now? Why after so many years? Because now you're on the right frequency." The right frequency. Just like the 87-year-old woman had said. "The noise was too loud," the voice continued. "Now it's quiet enough." Sarah understood. It wasn't God who was distant. It was her who was tuned to the wrong station. "What does the Lord want from me?" she asked. "That you keep listening." And then the presence intensified. It was like being enveloped by a love so deep, so pure, that it couldn't be put into words. Sarah stayed there for hours, just listening, just feeling, just being. When she finally walked through her front door, Sarah knew her life would never be the same. But the 5th day would bring an even deeper revelation. A revelation that would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone around her. Sarah woke on the 5th day with a feeling she'd never experienced before. It was as if her body was made of light. There was no hunger, no tiredness, just pure, clean, vibrant energy. An energy that didn't come from food. It came from somewhere else. At work, things started to get surreal. Mrs. Davis, a patient who was given up for dead, suddenly showed improvement. "Doctora Sarah," she said in Spanish, "you have something special. I can feel it when you enter the room." Mr. Thompson, who had suffered from insomnia for months, slept soundly after Sarah adjusted his pillow. Dr. Ramirez called Sarah in for a chat. "What's happening with you this week?" he asked. "Patients are specifically asking for you. Recovery rates in your sector are up 40%. Sarah didn't know what to say, how to explain that she was connected to something medicine couldn't measure. "I think I'm just paying more attention," she replied. "Paying attention to what?" "To them, really." Dr. Ramirez was silent for a moment. "Keep doing what you're doing," he finally said. That night, Sarah sat in the same spot in her backyard. The stars seemed even closer, and the voice returned, clearer, closer. "You're beginning to understand." "Understand what, Lord?" "That you were never just a nurse." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean, Lord?" "Your hands, your heart, your presence. They carry something the world needs." "What do I carry?" "My love." And suddenly, Sarah understood. It wasn't her healing people. It was God, through her. But for that to happen, she needed to be on the right frequency. Clean, pure, tuned in. "That's why the fast," she whispered. "The fast eliminates the interference. It allows you to be a clear channel." Sarah started crying again. But this time, not from relief, from purpose. She had found her mission. Her true mission. What if I start eating again? What if I lose this connection? The voice laughed softly. Daughter, do you think I depend on your hunger to speak to you? No, the fast was just the training to teach you how to hear me. Now that you know what it's like, you'll never forget it. Sarah felt a deep peace wash over her heart. But how do I maintain this connection? Daily quiet, true prayer, and most importantly, what? Unconditional love for the people I put in your path. Sarah spent the entire night awake, not from insomnia, from gratitude. She had found what she'd been searching for her whole life, God's voice. But more than that, she had found her purpose. The 6th day would be when she tested if this connection was real, or just her imagination. The test would come in a way she never expected, and it would forever change her understanding of the power of prayer. Sarah arrived at work on the 6th day, expecting another day of gentle spiritual connections. But God had other plans. At 10:37 a.m., the sirens started blaring. Emergency. Major accident. Multiple victims arriving. Sarah had never dealt with such severe trauma. The first victim arrived unconscious. An 8-year-old girl. Sarah looked at that bruised little face and felt something break inside her chest. She won't make it, whispered Dr. Ramirez. Too much blood loss. But Sarah heard something different. Not with her ears, with that part of her that had learned to listen. Place your hands on her. Sarah hesitated. Was this medical protocol? Of course not, but the voice was clear. Lord, what if I'm going crazy? She thought. What if you're not? Sarah took a deep breath, looked around. Everyone was busy with other procedures. Discreetly, she placed one hand on the girl's forehead and prayed. Not pretty words, not religious phrases, just a desperate cry from the heart. Please. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then Sarah felt something. A warm energy passed through her hand, like a gentle electric current. The girl opened her eyes. Where's my mom? She whispered. Dr. Ramirez stopped everything he was doing. How? That's impossible. Her vital signs were almost zero. Sarah quickly removed her hand. She must have had a temporary fluctuation, she said, trying to sound scientific. But inside she knew. That wasn't a coincidence. 2 hours later, the girl was stable. Out of danger. Medical miracle, Dr. Ramirez wrote in the report. Miracle. Sarah smiled. If only he knew the truth. But the day wasn't over yet. At 3 p.m., the second test arrived. Mrs. Patterson, 89 years old. Cardiac arrest. There's nothing we can do, said Dr. Ramirez. She's gone. Everyone moved away. Standard protocol. But Sarah couldn't leave the room. Something was holding her there. She's still here, whispered the voice. Lord, she has no more heartbeat. Her heart stopped, but she's still here. Sarah looked at Mrs. Patterson, an elderly woman who had raised 5 children, who had lost her husband in the war, who had worked as a teacher for 40 years, a lifetime of love and dedication. She deserves a farewell, Sarah thought. She approached the bed, held Mrs. Patterson's cold hand. Mrs. Patterson, if you can hear me, your children are coming, all 5 of them, and your grandchildren too. A white lie. Sarah didn't know if they were coming. You can go in peace. You were a wonderful mother, an inspiring teacher. You made a difference in the lives of hundreds of people. And then something happened that Sarah would never be able to explain to anyone. Mrs. Patterson opened her eyes for 2 seconds, looked directly at Sarah, smiled, and closed her eyes again, this time in peace. Sarah felt a gentle presence leave the room, like an invisible breeze. Mrs. Patterson had passed, but not alone. You helped her find her way, said the voice. Sarah cried, from gratitude, from awe, from purpose. She was being used for something bigger, something she never imagined possible. When she got home that night, Sarah knelt in her backyard. Lord, I don't understand what's happening to me. Then a new thought occurred to Sarah. Catherine Kuhlman. The stories she'd heard, the testimonials. Could this be the same power, the same presence? It was a thought that sent shivers down her spine. a thought that filled her with both awe and trepidation. The realization that she might be connected to something far greater than herself, something divine and powerful, was both exhilarating and terrifying. Could she truly handle the responsibility? Could she be worthy of such a gift? The questions swirled in her mind, a tempest of uncertainty and wonder, as she looked up towards the heavens and felt, for the first time, a deep and abiding connection to something beyond her comprehension, something sacred and real. You are becoming who I always planned for you to be. And who is that person? Someone who can be my hands, my voice, my love in human form. Sarah was silent for a long time. What if I can't? What if I fail? Daughter, do you think I would place this responsibility on someone who cannot bear it? No. Then trust. Sarah slept soundly that night. For the first time in years, she didn't have nightmares about losing patience. She dreamed of light, of healing, of hope. The 7th day arrived like a golden dawn. Sarah woke knowing something special was about to happen. Something definitive. Something that would forever seal this new connection. She prepared for work differently. She prayed longer, meditated in silence, drank water as if it were a sacrament. At the hospital, everything seemed normal. Until 11:23 a.m. The phone rang. "Sarah, I need you in the ICU, now." It was Dr. Ramirez. "Urgent tone." Sarah raced down the halls, arrived at the ICU breathless. "What happened?" Dr. Ramirez pointed to bed 7. "Tommy Henderson, 12 years old, in a coma for 3 days after a bicycle accident. His parents want to unplug the machines." Sarah knew Tommy. A cheerful boy, always smiling when he came for routine checkups. "The parents are arriving in 30 minutes to say goodbye," Dr. Ramirez continued. "Can you stay with him until then?" Sarah approached the bed. Tommy seemed to be sleeping peacefully, but Sarah knew he was far away, very far away. She held his small, cold hand. "Tommy, if you can hear me, your mom and dad love you very much. They want you to stay, but only if you want to stay." Silence. "If you choose to stay, I'll be here to help. If you want to go, that's okay too." Sarah closed her eyes, and for the first time in 7 days, she said a different prayer. She didn't ask for a miracle. She didn't ask for healing. She asked for wisdom. "Lord, show Tommy the right path, whatever it may be." And then she waited, in complete silence. 10 minutes passed, 15, 20. At 25 minutes, Tommy opened his eyes. "Nurse Sarah?" he whispered. Sarah almost fainted. "Tommy, can you hear me? I could hear you the whole time, but I was far away." "Far away where?" "In a very beautiful place. There was light everywhere, and music I'd never heard before." Sarah felt chills. "And what brought you back?" Tommy smiled weakly. The music stopped, and a voice said, "Your mission on Earth is not yet over." At this moment, Tommy's parents rushed in. When they saw their son awake, talking, they fell to their knees, crying. Pure gratitude. Dr. Ramirez arrived a few minutes later, ran every possible test. "Medically, this is impossible," he told Sarah. "His brain had no activity for 18 hours. But he's okay now," Sarah replied. "Yes, he's perfect, as if nothing ever happened." "Doctor," Ramirez looked at Sarah for a long time. "You have a special gift, Nurse Sarah. Something science can't explain." Sarah smiled. "Doctor, there's so much more in this universe than our science can measure. I'm starting to believe that." When Sarah left the hospital that afternoon, she knew the 7 days were over, but her journey was just beginning. She sat in her backyard for the last time as the person she was before. "Lord, I heard your voice. I saw your power. I understood my purpose. And now I need to know. How do I live this every day? How do I maintain this connection without fasting forever?" The answer came like a gentle breeze. The fast was just the unclogging of your spiritual ears. Now that you know what my voice sounds like, you'll never mistake it for anything else. "What if I doubt?" What if I think I'm imagining? Daughter, you saw 3 miracles in 3 days. Are you still going to doubt? Sarah laughed. No, Lord. Never again. Then get up, eat something, and tomorrow, continue being my hands in the world. Sarah got up, went inside, prepared a simple meal, prayed over the food, and ate for the first time in 7 days. Every bite was a communion, every sip of water, a gratitude. Her husband arrived from work and noticed immediately. Sarah, you're different. There's something different in your eyes. Am I? You seem illuminated. Illuminated. Sarah smiled. If only he knew how literal that word was. I discovered something about myself this week, she said. What? That I've always been more than I imagined. We all are. That night, Sarah put her children to bed differently. She didn't just kiss them. She prayed over them, blessed them, declared God's purpose over their lives. Mom, why are you doing this? Asked her oldest son. Because I learned that our words have power, and the words of a mother who knows God have infinite power. The months that followed were like nothing Sarah had ever experienced before. Patients began asking specifically for her. Entire families came to thank her for miracles that had happened during her shifts. Dr. Ramirez promoted her to supervisor. Sarah, I don't know what you do differently from others, he said, but I want you to teach this to the entire team. Sarah founded a prayer group at the hospital. It started small, just 3 nurses. In 6 months, there were 15. In a year, it included doctors, technicians, even cleaning staff. How did you manage to unite everyone like this? Dr. Ramirez asked. I didn't unite anyone, Sarah replied. I just showed that we all have a greater purpose than we imagine. And what is that purpose? To be a channel of love, of healing, of hope. And how does someone become that? Sarah smiled. Learn to listen. Really listen. Listen to what? The voice that's always been there, waiting for us to eliminate the noise so we can hear it. Dr. Ramirez was thoughtful. Sarah, you changed this hospital. You changed our team. You changed the way we treat patients. Me, you brought something that was missing here. What? Real hope. True love. The feeling that something greater is taking care of us all. Sarah looked out the hospital window, saw the stars shining. The same stars that had accompanied her during those 7 days of transformation. Doctor, can I tell you a secret? Of course. We all can hear that voice. We all can be channels of healing. It's not a special gift of mine. No, it's a special gift. Anyone who chooses to silence the world enough to hear God speak. And how does someone do that? Sarah smiled. Fast for 7 days. Just water. And listen. That's it? That's it. But it's also everything. Dr. Ramirez was silent for a long time. Sarah, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Do you really believe God speaks to you? Sarah looked into his eyes. Doctor, do you really believe he doesn't speak to you? And in that question lay all the difference. Sarah had discovered that God never stopped speaking. We stopped listening. But when we eliminate the noise, when we tune into the right frequency, when we fast not only from food, but from all distractions, we discover something incredible. We discover we were never alone, and that our lives can be far more powerful than we ever imagined. Maybe it's time you try. Maybe it's time you discover which voice is waiting to speak to you. Maybe you already know the answer. And maybe you just need the courage to tune in, to truly listen, to hear Catherine Kuhlman's message echoing in your soul. A message of unwavering faith in the powerful presence of God. It's a journey of silencing the static, to hear God's voice, clear as a bell, a message that resonates deeply, a message of hope, a message of unwavering faith and healing, a message from Catherine Kuhlman herself, a message for you. Listen closely, listen deeply. The answer is waiting.